At this point, anyone can make an app, even dogs. You can easily hire a coder off the streets or simply use ChatGPT to get the job done. Where in the streets? I don't understand why there were so many likes on this article. Very dramatic, this article, but I'm here for it. My body is here for it. Hey, how's it going? Today, I'm gonna be reacting to another Medium article today, and this one is pretty spicy. It's titled, "An Era of High-Paying Tech Jobs is Over." Now, I guess I'm also a high-paid tech worker, so this article really intrigued me. I'm gonna go read through this, and it's kind of a long article, so I hope you can stick with me. It's a pretty popular article. It has like 14,000 claps, whatever that means. So let's get right into it. The era of high-paying tech jobs is over. By Somnat Singh. Sorry if I butchered your name. The Death of Tech Jobs. Ooh, nice picture. Don't know what that is about, but I'm guessing we're gonna find out. In the 5th century, reading and writing were considered rare talents. In a village, only a few could do it, and they were called scribes. They were like coders of the past, translating human language and stories into signs and symbols. Scribes were responsible for preserving important knowledge and ensuring it wasn't lost over time. Due to their ability to transcribe spoken language into written one, they held prominent status in the society of that time. This profession flourished for centuries. The stories and secrets they wrote still exist today, waiting for us to figure out their meaning. Fast forward to 1455, and history takes a sharp turn. Okay, so far his cooking with like the historical context and setting the scene, so that's pretty cool. Johannes Gutenberg invents a revolutionary device that shatters the scribe's monopoly. Suddenly, reading and writing become more accessible. Printed books flood the market and literacy rates soar. You know, I don't really know if scribes were monopolizing a market. I think they were just writing stuff down. But anyways, the increased literacy and technological advancements led to a decline in the prestigious and economic value of scribes' profession. It made written information more accessible. The once exclusive skill of scribing lost its elite status, replaced by a printing press and its mass production capability. Fast forward to the 21st century, where something terribly similar is about to happen again. I think I know where it's going, probably talking about AI, but this time it will be for people in tech. I don't really know about this. You know, I do a ton of AI coding and I still feel like it's pretty far away, but let's see which tech software engineer jobs he thinks is gonna go away. I'm not here to sell you on a prediction chart, yet history, an ever-repeating circus, hints at patterns we dare not ignore. Huge shift is about to happen. But the question is, are you ready? Dun, dun, dun. Very dramatic, this article, but I'm here for it. My body is here for it. I'm going to find another you. Those who have knowledge don't predict. Those who predict don't have knowledge. Lao Tzu. It's over. Tech jobs have seen their peak. Last year, we saw the merciless termination of over 400,000 people in tech. This is not going to stop. Tech layoffs are surging and over 44,000 roles have already been cut just in January. Now, I'm going to pause here and say that when I looked at the data, layoffs have definitely lessened and the market is kind of stabilizing. But, you know, you could take a look at that video about my boot camps. But honestly, it's getting better and the layoffs are not as dramatic as like 2 years ago, for example. For those dismissing these layoffs, like me, as a routine in tech, there's more to grasp. This isn't just a common layoff. It's an ongoing shift and it won't relent. You know, back in 2008, when we had the financial crisis, I remember there were a ton of layoffs and a ton of like issues with like the recession and stuff. But after those layoffs, came 10 years of boom where we got to this state. In my opinion, COVID was like one of the biggest driving force of like overemployment, people just getting paid ridiculous amounts as well. So I don't know, I feel like there's a lot of correction and factors that need to be taken into consideration when, you know, talking about layoffs. Of course, the layoffs are pretty like significant and it's real. I don't think it's doom and gloom like this guy is kind of portraying. It all starts with Elon Musk's move to cut 80% of staff, which sparked a trend among tech CEOs to trim the excess workforce. This is definitely true. Number of tech companies doing layoffs, number of tech employees let go. Yeah, a ton of them in 2024. Companies are always looking for ways to maximize profits and minimize expenses, and reducing the number of employees is a great way to do so. This is true, but when we're in the economic era where things are growing, like, you know, during COVID, things were booming online, companies need to hire. So it really depends on the current economic standing. Those who rely on the company for their livelihood always keep in mind that their purpose is self-preservation, not your prosperity. You are just a number for them. This is pretty fair. Getting hired has become more difficult than ever. 17 years of experience, can't even get an interview. Okay, I'm not gonna read all of this, but Yeah, I get the gist. Sure, some of them may adapt, but where will you fit the rest of the workforce when they need for labor? Oh, this is a hard sentence to read. Sure, some of them may adapt, but where will you fit the rest of the workforce when the need for the labor itself is decreasing? Tech jobs are on the way of becoming another dead-end job. Coders used to be seen as modern-day wizards with rare abilities, but now coding skills have become commonplace. I don't really know about this. You know, when I go to church or when I go to like big gatherings, there's still not that many engineers. And I live in Silicon Valley, where it's basically the heart and epicenter of tech. And it's still not that common to find another engineer, honestly. Especially at like FANG level company. This transition didn't happen overnight though. It was years in the making. Back in the late 1960s, when the computer industry was just getting established, people who could work with computers were extremely rare, like an elite group of scribes. I don't know about this example of scribes, to be honest. At that time, very few individuals could talk to computers by reading and writing code. Most corporate software back then was written in machine or assembly code, limiting the development to people from research backgrounds. But then higher level programming languages were invented, opening the door for many more without a research background to start coding. Companies realized that universities could produce hireable grads with required skills. They paid for curriculums teaching their tech stacks specifically. A profitable trade. Companies got credentials stamped with new hires. Universities received fees for this labor pipeline. You got Java into your syllabus. For years, the path to a six-figure coding job was clearly defined. Get that 4-year university degree first. Companies only recruited from this pool. Honestly, I don't know about this too, because there's so many stories, especially in coding, where people got jobs without a 4-year degree. You know, all of the famous like Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs. Granted, Steve wasn't an engineer. All of them started companies and stuff without a 4-year degree. I guess like in the grand scheme of things, this is probably the most common way people got into engineering jobs. Software was built mostly behind closed walls of these companies, but times have changed. The internet was reaching untapped parts of the world. Connection among people increased. The ascent of open source changed the game. Now a person sitting in the other part of the world was contributing to software development. Open source revolutionized code by enabling global collaboration. Knowledge became free, giving rise to self-taught coders bypassing traditional education. Okay, so he got to this point. I guess the timeline, I was confused. I guess he was still talking about, I don't know, assembly timeline. Coding bootcamps further accelerated the shift. Shout outs to coding bootcamps, providing a fast-tracked, affordable path to tech jobs. No 4-year degree required. And as time progressed, coding went from an elite skill to one the masses could access with some dedications. Things came to a point where anyone could get into tech. I think this term, anyone could get into tech, a loaded term. It still requires a ton of effort, like someone who doesn't know how to code to become an engineer. There's a lot of misconceptions on like these like YouTube videos where, oh, I went from zero coding to like being an engineer in 3-4 months. I'm sure there's people like that, but there's levels to these. Right? Just because you got a job at like some no-name, I don't know, entry-level position as an engineer or like a web developer, honestly, there's levels to it. I wouldn't call like script kiddies and things like that like straight-up engineers, you know? I would just say it's not the same. Like you can't compare someone working at a Fortune 500 as a, you know, senior software engineer to one of these software engineers or these videos that's saying I went from zero coding to like a software developer in 3 months or whatever. Like you just can't compare. This is not the same thing. Granted, I will say they're getting into tech, so maybe that is a point. But again, I think this is kind of a loaded term. I don't think it's painting the picture fully and clearly. In 2019, during the pandemic, many companies came to their senses. They realized that they could actually operate remotely. I don't know about this. Remote work opened the door to the pool of the world talent. I mean, like, I don't think people actually really bought into remote work until COVID, like when people were forced to. And now there's trends to revert a lot of this remote work. Like most companies are trying to revert it. Sure, you can do a lot of work, but I don't think this is a correct statement. Now companies have access to the best of the best talents from the world. But in the year 2023, something else happened that changed the whole trajectory altogether. AI entered the scene of software development. I don't know why this author skipped COVID about the whole remote thing. It kind of bugs me that he went through this whole detail about scribes and stuff, but he didn't like talk about COVID on his point about remote work. I don't really understand, but Anyways, now all you have to do is write a prompt and it will make an app for you. If you've watched any of my vibe coding things on LinkedIn, if you've been following me on LinkedIn, I've been doing a ton of experiments on vibe coding. I think this also is a loaded term. Like, sure, you can make a lot of things in vibe coding, but it's nowhere near kind of like production grade ready unless you're actually an engineer too, and you could go and debug and actually use it. Like, I challenge anyone who doesn't know how to code at all to build like a production grade app. This article is frustrating to me. This led to individuals with no tech backgrounds or experience entering the tech scenes. I've never built an app before and I'm completely unfamiliar with Swift. I just built a yakitori kanji flashcard tool in 1 hour. Never fails to impress me. Yeah, sure, like these toy apps anyone can do. And you know what? You could have done this following a tutorial for like 4 hours before as well. It's just that now you don't need to do that. You can just prompt it. But take this and build a real yakitori kanji flashcard app that you can, serve to millions of users and also maintain. It's not the same thing. Everyone started building software. I made this little weather app using ChatGPT. Even those who had no background in coding. I never built an app before. Using ChatGPT, I built an app. Let's upload an ebook and ask questions. You see, all of these apps look pretty shitty. Actually, this one's pretty nice. The weather one is not bad, not gonna lie. But yeah, like all of these are pretty crappy. At this point, anyone can make an app, even dogs. Okay, guy. And as if this were not enough, now we have Devin, the first AI software engineer. Okay, maybe this was written pretty while ago when Devin was actually hyping. There was some hype around Devin, but Devin's pretty trash from everything I've researched. To be fair, I haven't used Devin myself. It's just things I heard from people and YouTube videos that I've seen and articles that I read that Devin is pretty trash. Yeah, maybe if I ever use it and review it, I'll let you guys know. Better take than saying Devin is trash. At this moment, Devin can code an entire project, debug problems, and solve them. Complete regular freelancing and Upwork jobs, fixing issues in large repos. He can even teach himself how to use unfamiliar technology. Deploy instantly. Higher level coding languages open the doors wider for more people to get into coding bootcamp. But AI will blow the doors off those hinges, allowing anyone with expertise in a specific domain to create software solutions for that domain. We're still like a few years away from this being like actually very easy to do. No code tools that are available today foreshadow what's coming. Human language itself becoming the new coding protocol. What about human thought? Like what about Neuralink where you're not even talking as the interface, but you're just like thinking it? Wouldn't that be a trip? Instead of writing code, you'll just describe or think, in my example, what you want in a natural language. Generating those prompts and parsing the AI's responses will be a new form of programming. It's fantastic that technologies we use are becoming smarter. It's a far more intelligent approach. Only someone who aspires to be the smart person in the room will be concerned if everything around him becomes smarter than him. Tech should reach everyone. But remember the story of the scribes I told you in the beginning? Do you remember what increased literacy and technological advancements led to? Decline in prestige and economic value of the scribes' professions. That's exactly what is about to happen to tech workers. In mathematics, there's a concept called local maxima. I understand where he's luring to. He's saying there's going to be a mass increase in volume of engineers or vibe coders. So that's going to eat into the pay of tech workers. To some degree, I think it's correct. I think a lot of like those script kiddie jobs that I was talking about, like those people who went from 0 to whatever months and started working, I think a lot of those jobs may disappear, which is fair. But someone's gonna need to do those prompts too. So I think like AI coders is gonna be a thing. One of the key things that I've been thinking a lot about AI coding and like vibe coding is that at some point the AI will get stuck. It's not gonna know what to do. You try to generate things and it's gonna delete something and add something and you're gonna get stuck. Like try building a really complicated project, and if you're not skilled at Cursor, if you're not skilled at using like MCP or like custom rules, if you don't know how to use these AI tools effectively, then you're gonna fall flat on your face. This is the kind of the main point that this author is missing, is that sure, we may not have these like low entry level positions anymore, but we'll have these new ones. And you know what? These new jobs are gonna pay a ton of money. They're gonna be paid better than the new scribes or whatever. Because at the end of the day, people still need products. At least with the current set of tools that I've played around with, that I've seen, there's still a ton of limitations, and you need very technical people to be able to go in and surgically make changes, fixes, and etc. There's so much more than just spitting out code to software engineering. That's my 2 cents. In 2024, we have hit a local maximum in technology, where the job industry's infrastructure is so well established that you can easily hire a coder off the streets or simply use ChatGPT to get the job done. I guess I don't really understand where in the streets this author, I keep saying this guy because I'm getting frustrated reading this, but I just don't believe this. I just don't think this is true. Like, in my company, I always feel like we're understaffed and we're always looking for people to hire. It's very hard to find good, competent people. I don't really want just some random coder off the street. I want someone that is good. As the working conditions get worse and worse, each person will take on the role of 10 other people who are laid off. Okay, there's some truth to that. This also means a long winter is coming for CS graduates and newcomers. This is also fair. Job market's very tough. OpenAI launched Sora. Meta launched VJ. What? I didn't know we launched this. Google launched Gemini 1.5. I have a nit to pick with this sentence because he says OpenAI launched Sora. It should have been like ChatGPT. You know, the Sora is like a video generator, right? Meta launched VJPA. I don't even know what that is. He should have mentioned Llama. That's like the most common one. Google launched Gemini 1.5 Pro. Okay, so this article must be a little old. Also, Devin's trash. So the AI software developer is already here. So they should have talked about just the best ones. I don't know why he chose these examples. It's clear that this author, just by this sentence alone, doesn't really know what AI can and cannot do. I think that's my biggest gripe of this article. Meanwhile, you have these newcomers and sophomore kids who are still searching for HTML, CSS, and JavaScript robots. They're doomed for sure. I guarantee they're not doomed for sure. You know, programming is not just about being able to code. The job itself is like problem solving. You're training yourself to solve difficult and meaningful problems to solve, right? At the end of the day, I myself only spend 30 to 40% of my time coding, maybe less on certain weeks. You know, there's so much that goes into software engineering and building software that I think this article itself so grossly undermining what an engineer actually do and what tech workers actually do. And in my opinion, juniors who are really interested in trying to perfect their craft, maybe use AI also to leverage their learning and, build things, but also learning the fundamentals, those people are going to be successful. I guarantee it. I would love to work with those people, right? Anyways, tech has become an oversaturated field where employers have realized that they don't need to pay you $300 to $500K and free cafeteria food for 4 hours of a workday. Again, I don't know. If you just look at the numbers for FANG jobs for senior engineers, this is not true. Just look at the comp rate. Just go to Levels FII. Just look at the current pay. Look at what juniors are making, seniors are making, staff is making. The information is public. It's all there. This is just not true. Maybe this is the case for some other companies, but for top tier tech companies, it's still very, very strong. As software development becomes cheaper and more efficient, it will become much easier to hire developers for single tasks or short-term projects rather than full-time. This whole idea that he started with, which is scribes and people who can write. The thing is, we still have authors, we still have writers, and they get paid well in certain cases, right? So I don't think his entire history will repeat itself stands at all. It's just not a real thing. It was a bad example in my opinion. The industry will shift towards an Uber-like model. I highly doubt that this will happen. Using more contracted workers instead of full-time employees, this is called the network model. In the past, companies will build entire code bases and then deploy and monetize them later on. Now the code will constantly run and make money from the very beginning. This guy has never been on an on-call before or maintained any software for more than 2 years. This new way of doing things is called a network model. Having a centralized teams of coders made sense before, but not anymore. That work can be easily broken up into smaller pieces. Soon, we will see decentralized markets where problem solvers from around the world can effortlessly connect for tasks. Now the code will always be running and fully monetized. Honestly, can you imagine your code being put together at the quality of a DoorDash? or like a Uber ride. I just don't understand. Like even his example of like coding tasks will be like Uber ride. If I had it my way, I'd rather drive. I think I'm a better driver. I just don't believe that this will happen. There is a world in kind of a far distant future, maybe not too far, that AI and AI coding is going to be so amazing that we don't need engineers anymore. That I do think can happen, but it's not going to be a Uber model. It's just not. It's going to be companies that hire like very good product thinkers, and then they will vibe code their way to success. But I mean, who knows? Who knows what's going to be? If AI can get that amazing, then honestly, I don't think there's any jobs left. Like there's just no jobs left at all. Like we'll be living in a world where we don't need to work. Like that's the world that he's talking about. So why would you even have like these Uber, like, I don't know, it just doesn't make sense to me. We're not going back to the golden era where fresh software engineers or bootcamps landing 200K jobs straight out of the gate was a norm. You know, if it's not AI coding, it's going to be something else. There's always going to be demand for something, some job. This statement, in my opinion, is totally wrong. The landscape has changed drastically. I'm one of the few who told you this because most are stuck in their bubbles, are missing the AI revolution. The discipline of coding won't be a barrier to entry. If you still have doubts, then you better watch this. I don't even need to watch this video about Jensen. I think Jensen's amazing, by the way, but he's biased. I bet you in this video, he says something like, AI is gonna take all your jobs or whatever. AI is gonna take over everything in the next like whatever. If AI does that, then that means more NVIDIA GPUs. So he's like, every company is biased and hyping up AI because that directly affects stock prices. But if you talk to any of like the very like serious AI researcher, they'll say that like it's still far off. We're not there yet. AGI is not close. Of course, people in OpenAI and things like that who will have like very vested interest in continuing the hype will keep saying AGI is close or we have AGI moments. But you just gotta really follow the biases. Like think about it carefully and test it out yourself. Like play with it yourself.
100% of software engineers in the future, there are 30 million of them around the world, 100% of them are going to be AI assisted.
Like don't get me wrong, I love using AI tools and I think they're freaking amazing. But we're just not there yet. Lies, 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 bloody lies. It's easy to fool people than to convince them that they've been fooled. Source unknown. Okay. Tech used to be fun. Then people found out there was money in it, and the worst people started showing up. There's a lot of like weird hot takes in this article, and it's really bothering me. We all saw what happened with crypto. The internet is filled with charlatans teaching how to get into FANG or break into tech, but they never tell you if the industry even wants you. If you really look at what caused this oversaturation, you will see it is because a whole lot of people got deluded. The delusion was initially built by universities. People were defrauded into spending massive amounts of money and wasting years of useless degrees, thinking it is the only key to success. Most of these degrees teach outdated information. You won't even learn about AI or ChatGPT in college. Instead, you'll learn things like building operating systems from scratch, building compilers, etc., all of which are mostly irrelevant today's world. Wow. Like this is what I'm saying. These hot takes are so bad. Like, ugh. All of these things are very useful to learn. Learning how to build operating systems from scratch. Like these people are not just learning how to build operating systems. They're learning fundamentals of coding and fundamentals of good architecture. You know, there's just so much to this. And even using AI, people are gonna have to solve difficult and challenging and new problems in the future. So building these kind of muscles by learning how to build compilers and or OS systems, those are the people that are gonna be doing that. Not this guy who thinks the end of the world is here for tech workers. On the other side, you have these code influencers. I guess he's talking about me. Often haven't coded in their lives and only share memes. I definitely code, but I do share memes too. But now they sell you in a dream that may not be realistic. I think my dreams are realistic because I live them, and I think you can do it too if you really want to be an engineer. I don't think you should read these kind of articles and go, well, I guess I can't be an engineer or I'm not gonna have a job anymore. I just don't buy it. These are for people who are whiners. They're people who basically give up before they even try. Like if you want to do something, you should really like have grit and go after it. Right? Like this is not just for coding, this is for everything. Society made everyone believe that coding is the gateway to success. But in reality, it leads to a terrible 9-to-5 with mediocre pay, hell lot of burnouts. I wouldn't say it's mediocre pay. There's definitely some burnout, but it's not a terrible 9-to-5 job. I could list out so many more terrible 9-to-5 jobs that has good pay. Like, honestly, not to rag on doctors because I think they're doing amazing work for the world, but being a doctor probably sucks. Always with sick people all the time. You have to go into the office every day. You're not touching grass all the time. You're like usually in hospitals, which the lighting is probably not that great. You have a ton of paperwork. Sure, you get paid a ton of money and you're saving lives. So like the work itself and is like very meaningful. But I bet like the work, the actual work is pretty bad. And I have a few doctor friends who can concur. At this point, coding itself has become a Ponzi scheme. I don't understand why there were so many likes on this article. I regret reading this. People are preying on other people and making them believe that they'll become the next Mark Zuckerberg if they just learn React or whatever. React. Let me tell you something about it. It's a library made to create slaves who can work in companies. This may actually be the worst take ever. Like, he's literally comparing slaves to React developers. I don't understand this article. It was developed for newcomers so they don't mess up the code base. That is not true at all. Like, fundamentally, it was built to speed up the web. The virtual DOM made like scrolling web like really fast. Like, Facebook built it, and this was me even before joining, but they built it because they were having issues like with perf in their app. It wasn't built for like newcomers. It's just really well designed, you know? Like, I would argue like if something is designed very well for newcomers to use, but it was actually designed for like very specific performance or other like consideration, is that made for newcomers? I don't think that's the case. You know, Facebook had a purpose and a reason for making React, so they made it. The reality is, if you're just a React developer or whatever X developer, you're not a programmer. You are just a coder and you're bound to get replaced. This guy just grossly underestimates how difficult some client applications can actually be. Maybe I'm coming from an angle where the types of systems and programs that I'm writing and I'm dealing with are at a scale that maybe this guy can't comprehend. And that's why maybe he'll say phrases like just a React developer. Like, these terms are really loaded. Every profession, every domain, the problems can get very deep and difficult. Like, I really dislike when people say, oh, you're just a web engineer or you're just a backend guy. Like, no. All of these problems have their own merits and their difficulties, and those should be considered. There's no career path for you beyond that. You're doing the job of an automation that an AI or ChatGPT, whatever the next thing is, will soon replace. Above all, give me the truth. They buried us alive thinking that we would die, but they did not know that we were seeds. Our burials is our legacy. The era of high-paying jobs, tech jobs, was a fluke in history. When the internet was first invented, the era is no more. There are startups whose mission is to fully replace software engineers with AI devs. The VCs and investors love this idea, and so do the founders. Imagine how much money they could make if they succeed. They are not going to stop. You better know it. Companies don't give a rat's ass about you. They only care about staying in business. If they find someone better than you, AI, they'll replace you. It's not personal. It's just how it is. But why do you need them if they don't need you? Society tells you lies like it's not that simple and this is the only way and you'll screw it up if you're doing your own thing. But those are just limiting beliefs. If you can break free from that outdated way of thinking about making money, you'll see opportunities that others are missing. There are two paths from learning programming. One leads to slavery and to freedom. I really don't like this. Comparison is pretty asinine. Tech skills that only work within companies will lead to wage slavery and won't make you money on their own. Honestly, this guy, I feel like he's a product of something that he hates. Like, earlier he was saying that there's just the tech influencers that are only sharing memes. To me, he is this. This article is just a lot of like triggering, like just hot takes. And I'm like getting ready for him to recommend his new course so that I can learn how to make money now that my coding job is at risk. True valuable skills transcend specific tools and methodologies. What is this? Remote.ok.io is a single PHP file called index.php, generating 65K this month. No frameworks, no libraries, except jQuery. Okay, sure. The highest paid engineers don't play favorites with languages. Nope. This is true. They can quickly pick up any tool. They do what works. Keep it simple. Their goal is to be effective, not just aesthetics. Aesthetic? It's the low-level engineers who overcomplicate, over-engineering, get caught up in the tech stack like it's a religion. You feel me? No, I don't feel you at all with this. Lower-level engineers have their own, like I said, this guy's taking just like generalizations for things that he just doesn't understand, and just like shitting on people that are probably just way better engineers. I actually don't know if the author is an engineer. The best engineers are practical. They're adaptable. They don't get tied down. They're innovative. Don't just replicate. If you really look, you will know coding was never the source of the value. Problem solving was, and it always will be. This I do agree with. The future will favor those creating value, not stuck worshipping obsolete skills or gatekeeping knowledge. This is not new. Once in a few centuries, we see entire career collapse. This is also true. All of this has happened before, and all of this will happen again. It happened to scribes, and it's going to happen to tech workers. You can't stop it. So this is where I disagree that the new tech workers are the people who use AI to do their tech job. AI is still part of tech. I think that's the thing that I don't get why he's saying tech workers are gonna disappear. The people who are gonna be the best at using these tech tools are gonna be tech workers. It's not gonna be just some random person. It's gonna be tech workers. I guarantee it. Even in marketing, the best marketing people are gonna be tech marketers now, who know how to use AI tools, who knows how to use Comfy UI to make images or whatever, who knows how to use 11 Labs for voice augmentation for their ads, who knows how to do best knowledge work using Google LMs, Notebook LM and Perplexity, all these things. You got to know how to use these tools. It's not going to be just for free, and it's going to be really long time until the world that this guy is talking about, where you can just think or just say one thing and voila, everything is done. At that point, we don't need jobs, honestly. Taste of freedom makes me unemployed. What if I fail? Oh, but my darling, what if you fly? Peter Pan. Recently, a whole lot of the YouTubers decided to quit. Okay, this is a pretty old article. I remember when all of this happened. It's interesting, isn't it? On one side, you have people getting laid off from tech companies, desperately clinging to their 9-to-5 job. On the other hand, there are those quitting their jobs and retiring from wealth. What do these quit rich folks know that you don't? They realize that times have changed. In the 1800s, wealth came from labor. In 1900s, favored those with capital. But now in 2000s, for anyone seeking riches, is through code and content creation. And it's not as difficult as they taught you. Yes, creating things through labor and capital is hard. It requires a cooperation of many other factors beyond just you. But the same isn't true for coders and content. With those, you can create something once and allow it to earn for you while you sleep. Provides incredible leverage that compounds over time. I'm not saying it's easy, but it has never been easier than it is today in this current age. The people getting rich and retiring early understood this fundamental shift. There are two paths now: serving others through labor or leveraging code and content. Which path will you choose? I guess I'm doing both, right? Because I'm working and I'm leveraging code and content. All right, how to make 1 million. Writing code as a single skill is going to disappear. The opportunity in tech field will not belong only to coders. The real leverage lies in understanding the technologies and making them work together. I made $500K from building a ChatGPT front-end UI. Take a simple idea and take it seriously. When you were a kid, the world was a playground, but somewhere along the way, you forgot that mindset. Don't crave for money, fame, helping others, or even changing the world. Create like a tinkering child, for the inherent joy of making something new, free from the weight of ambition, deaf to the world's demands and expectations. Companies make money by solving problems, which require work, but just working hard doesn't make you money. If people with no tech background can build things, you absolutely can too. It's just a shift in perspective. Instead of how do I make a living, ask how do I create a better life for myself and others. Be water, my friends. Wait, isn't that a Bruce Lee quote? Intelligence is ability to adapt to change. Stephen Hawking. He didn't quote Bruce Lee here. I think he's racist. I remember Jeff Bezos saying, I don't know what is going to change in 10 years, but I do know what don't. The future is always unknown, even for the people who are at the top. The world is moving fast and the traditional education will fail to keep up. This I do agree, like traditional education is definitely in trouble. That's why you must build a strategy around the things that are stable in time. As programmers, you will always have to solve problems. You will always have to effectively communicate with others, and you will always have to continue to learn and upgrade your skills. Focus on a big chunk of your energy on skills that are virtually guaranteed to be valuable in the future, no matter what. Everything we know, not just about programming, has an expiration. Half-life of knowledge is a term to denote the time it takes for half the knowledge in a domain to be outdated. The half-life of an engineer in 1930 was 35 years. In 1960, it came down to 10 years. Imagine what it is now. Because technology is moving so fast, eventually the ability to solve problems and continuously learn will become the most sought-after skills. This is a muscle that you can train. Programmers are problem solvers first, and the problem solver will always be in demand. This is very true. Because the world prefers the best solutions, not the second best. Note of gratitude. I want to take this opportunity to say thank you. Thank you for being here. I would not be able to do what I do without the people like you who follow along and take a leap of faith to read my posts. I hope you join in my subscription and future blog posts so I can make money on writing articles. And stick around because I think we have something great here. And I hope that I will be able to help you along in your career for many more years to come. See you next time. Bye. You know, I am not going to leave a clap. I thought it was just kind of a bad take, honestly. I don't know why so many people thought it was a good take. Okay, so the truth of some of the points of the articles, I think this guy is saying that like AI will take over all your jobs at one point, and sure, that might happen. I just don't think the timelines he's putting out like to be imminent is true at all. I think there's just a lot more time that we actually have to develop these skills. And as I dive into AI coding and vibe coding, I realized that I'm extremely grateful that I'm a really good engineer. Like I have zero fears in the random AI code that generates. I haven't read any of it, but I have zero doubts that if I really wanted to ship something in production, I could go in there later and be surgical and fix whatever the AI messed up. I know ways to prompt the AI to better architect my code, better make decisions. I also know a ton of like UX and design languages to make good apps. And all of this came because I knew how to code. This article is really saying you should skip coding. You should skip all of that because it's not valuable. But I just totally disagree. Coding, in my opinion, trains your brain to think in that problem-solving mentality. You know, he's saying be a problem solver. Well, you know what? Being an engineer and coding teaches those fundamental skills in a way that no other job or profession that I know can do. So I still think coding in this day and age, in 2025, March 31st, it's still worth learning how to code. Like really dig in. If you want to be an engineer, you should really dig in. You should also use those AI tools, but I still think there is going to be a ton of jobs for engineers. Sure, the market kind of sucks right now, but things will get better. So anyways, with that, I hope you enjoy this. I know this was really long. I hope you enjoy this video, and I'll see you guys next time.